Hello and welcome to the Enduro Method podcast. Dane Tony here with Joshua Rempel, and today we are talking about the ever so common theory that lifting weights makes people bulky. So we are here today to debunk that myth that won't die. There's your foreshadowing on our theory, on our philosophy, our opinion on it. But yeah, that's what we'll be talking about today. This not only applies to women, but men as well. You know, lifting weights making you bigger, bulkier, broader.
And they can.
Larger.
But it's usually a coordinated effort.
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen overnight.
So before we get into our opinion on this topic, I definitely want to stress the benefits of strength training. And all of these benefits, like pros and cons of strength training. Maybe your con is makes me bulky. There is a laundry list of pros.
And there's an easy way to knock that con down into basically
nothing. Null and void.
Right.
Which we will do today.
Hopefully.
But some of these benefits, we could talk about bone density. Strength training increases bone density.
What are some of the benefits of bone density?
Having stronger bones.
Right. So if you fall, for instance, less likely to break, crack, fracture, etc.
Yep. Stronger bones.
Stronger bones are harder
to break.
Yep. As you get older, helps with degenerative bone disease.
Yep.
So the sooner you can start carrying heavy shit around, the better, basically.
This is a really important piece. I would say, if not maybe even the most important piece of strength training, is the bone density. As we age, it is like you're running against a time machine, but your bone density decreases. And so one scientifically proven way to stop that, or maybe even
reverse that
potentially reverse it, is through weight-bearing exercise. And that is not just the same repetitive movement over and over and over again. Like wearing a pack on your dirt bike is great, but your body will adapt to that, and it won't stress your bones to help promote them to grow more bone once it's realized, like, that system.
Well, not only that, but when you're wearing a pack on a dirt bike, you're sitting on suspension. Like, what you need is that impact to the earth. So like jumping helps increase bone density. Right. Running, sprinting, all of those things help maintain. Then loading the spine with weights and moving around and that sort of stuff.
Right. What I'm getting at is it is important to have a variety of different methods of which your bones are stressed to help them build density within them. Be
stronger.
So I feel like we could go on a whole podcast on bone density, but we're going to save that for later. Benefits strength training can help in weight loss if that's what your goal is. Basically, having more muscle on your body is more metabolically demanding.
Yep. The more lean muscle mass you carry, the more calories you use just staying alive.
Yep. Improve body composition, which is just basically increasing lean muscle mass and reducing fat mass.
And another thing with that is muscle is armor. So if you increase lean muscle mass, you're you're helping support structure, creating a bit better barrier from things that want to hurt you to actually hurting you.
Reduce your risk of chronic disease. This is, I don't even know where to get started with that. It just kind of bleeds into everything. Training is just a healthy habit.
Yeah, it's stronger heart, better blood flow, increasing metabolic health, all those things.
Yep. Mental health benefits your mental health, can help improve flexibility and mobility. Believe it or not, you're not stretching, but you are moving your body in end range of motion, which ranges of motion
potentially,
and can help with that. And then last but not least, make you feel strong, empowered, and just more confident in general. So even if at the end of this podcast you are still of the mindset that you don't want to lift weights because you are afraid of getting bigger or bulkier or any of those philosophies, in our opinion, the benefits outweigh that piece multifold.
Yes, I think so. And then to kick off talking about the myth, because it is a myth, it's not really possible to just get so bulky so quick that you didn't have time to not see it coming. Right? And most of that actually is because of potentially bad food choices and not the actual lifting of weights.
Yep. So the bottom line and the short answer to this remark, to this question, can lifting weights make you bulky, is no. Not unless you eat like a crazy person.
Right. And so, like, let's just take a person who eats the same. So you haven't lifted weights, right? You have your set thing that you eat every day, day in and day out. And you start lifting weights. But you don't change anything with your food. Are you going to get bulky?
Not unless the consistent food habits were like really bad.
No, that's what I'm saying. So this person who's been at the same body weight for 2 years, right?
As long as they're not gaining weight.
Right. They're same calories in, calories out. They add weight training to their life regime. Are they going to get too bulky? Are they going to get bulky?
No.
They might change some body composition. So they might decrease their fat mass and increase their lean muscle mass. They might even get a little more toned, right? You might see a little muscle definition.
Right.
The scale might go up a little bit because muscle weighs more than fat. So if you're kind of trading your composition out, right? A couple pounds.
Yep.
But you're not going to be Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Nope. No, you're not. Good luck.
Yeah. Now, take that same individual. They start eating more food every day as they start weight training. And we look at them in 6 months. They could be more bulky.
Yeah. And that's, maybe where this theory has come from or why it still exists, is because oftentimes when people start training, they're obviously expending more energy, and their body is probably gonna need more calories, maybe, but they're gonna get hungrier. You start training, it might make you hungrier, it might induce you to eat more food, which then induces you to gain fat mass, which then induces I started weight training, which that is the one correlation that you make. However, you also started eating more, but you don't really know that because you just got hungrier.
Right, and you don't track your food.
And you don't pay attention to that necessarily within detail. And now you're bulkier because you've just been in a caloric surplus for however long you've been weight training, and you associate weight training with getting larger.
Right.
In truth, and I would say maybe not 100% of the time, but pretty darn close most of the time is due to what is going in your mouth.
Correct.
And it's not the actual lifting of the weights that's causing that.
Right. To build lean muscle mass tissue takes time.
Yep.
And we're not talking about weeks. We're talking about consistent effort over months. And so the idea that in 4 weeks you're going to be too big for your clothes because of all the lean muscle mass tissue you've built is just nonsensical. Now, you definitely in 4 weeks could add, like Dave was saying, some decent amount of fat mass in there. And, you might be a little stronger for sure. I'm not saying it's impossible, but a majority of that is going to come from bloat and fat tissue and not lean muscle tissue from lifting weights too much.
Yeah. In maybe somebody who has an image of like a like a bodybuilder style figure, I think that took so much time and dedication to get there. I think that can't go without being said. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger, all those big bulky dudes, even the ones that aren't super lean, but they're huge. Like that took years. And years.
And even Schwarzenegger's a progression. I mean, he went 10 years from when he started to when he first stepped on stage, and then another 6 or something to when he's winning the Arnold. So you're looking at, you're talking about 15 years of someone's life who's eating to get that way, lifting to get that way, potentially adding some non-over-the-counter supplements to help speed up that journey, right? But somebody who's focusing on their end goal is to get as big and as large as possible.
Right.
And it takes that long.
Yeah.
Now, there's a great thing with Schwarzenegger in an interview with a news reporter or something, and a news reporter's looking at him, and Schwarzenegger's in like a t-shirt, and he's sitting there just massive, and the guy kind of looks at him, like squeezes his arm and says, "Man, I would never want to be like you." And Schwarzenegger looks at him, just starts laughing and goes, "Don't worry, you never will be." I just loved it. Yeah, I was like, oh, it's so true. Like it's a lifetime of work.
Yeah. You're
so focused to do that. And he's just like, yeah, you're never going to put that effort into anything.
Yeah. I mean, it's so true. So like, I don't know. I don't know if that's where that stems from when people make that remark of, well, I don't want to lift weights because I'm afraid of getting bigger. But
yeah, I do think it's important to, when people, like if I remember to and somebody says that to me, I'll kind of be like, well, what's your idea of like too bulky? Just so I have a framework of what that individual is looking at. Because again, if they're looking at a bodybuilder, it's like so far away. Right. But they could just be looking at somebody like a very athletic, they could be
looking at you,
a physique or something, right? And they're like, well, maybe they're a little bit more down to earth, but they don't want to get that big, and that's totally fine. But you could even be somebody who's a long distance runner and worried about putting on weight because you have to carry it in your sport, and it makes complete sense to not want to add muscle mass, but you can also lift weights and still get the benefits of lifting weights without adding that mass too.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know how many people we're talking to that are on the elitist level of a point of a sport. Like I can think of like freaking Tour de France people.
Right.
Yeah, they might need to be careful.
Yeah.
They should probably be careful because I don't know if you've ever seen their arms, but I think their upper arm is smaller than my wrist.
There is actually debate on whether or not they should be doing some lifting with their upper bodies because they're so frail.
Right.
And like they fall over and break bones. Yeah. Totally.
So like the odds are, or if you are listening to this, that's kind of cool. But the odds are slim, and that's such a specialized elite
yes.
element that, I mean, you've got to have, I mean, they'd have everything dialed in the first place.
Right.
Their training and everything is dialed. For the general human off the street, lifting weights.
There's almost no downside.
Exactly.
Like barely. I can't think of any. Mm-mm. And most of that bulky ideal downside idea could be solved with making sure you're eating quality food within a realistic amount for your size.
Right. And I think too, like, what does bulky mean to you? I think looking deeper into that, I mean, for me personally, if you were to put two chicks, I'm going to go in the chick direction, next to each other, and you got one, they're pretty much the same size, but one has like zero muscle and the other has muscle, I'll be looking at the muscular chick going, dang, Well, I'm like, how'd she get, That to me is way more fun to look at than non-muscly chick, because the muscle chick, I mean, it's like almost evolution. Like, that's a healthier human being. They're fitter. They're probably, and this is all making assumptions. There's definitely some fit looking chicks out there that are probably really unhealthy. But for the most part, generalizing, that seeing a jacked person usually correlates with that person being healthier.
Yeah.
And I think you would agree.
Yeah. Well, there's markers like, just from a longevity standpoint, the more, what are the three markers? Your VO2 max, leg strength, and how much lean muscle mass you carry compared to your size. Like, those are three major predictors on how long you're going to live as you age.
Yep, exactly. So, looking at chick.
Right. Most likely better, higher VO2 max can, utilize oxygen better. Mm-hmm. You're toned, you got muscle definition, you're probably stronger, you're probably carrying more lean muscle tissue, which helps with fighting off metabolic diseases. Mm-hmm. And you're also probably carrying loads around more, which is promoting a stronger bone density. So most likely,
not about attractiveness
in all cases, but most likely on the healthier side.
Yeah, ultimately that's probably one of the reasons why people don't want to lift weights. Speaking from a chick, is I don't want to look bulky. Right. I don't want that appearance because it's unattractive. When I'm making the argument that, I think it is both men and female.
Yeah. No, I obviously tend to agree, but I would say too that there's, from the women and men perspective, that it's harder for women to gain lean muscle mass as well. So that just means it takes longer too, just because from a hormone perspective. Yeah. It's just such a funny myth. I don't know how with the advent of the internet it's even still around. Like, to me, that's one of those things that maybe back in the day got toted around and talked about, and it seems like with the internet, like, this thing should have just been gone.
Right.
Like, it completely busted, but it's not. And I feel like it's one of those things that a lot of people say, but really have no experience with it. It's either...
We also might not be a part of, like, I'm thinking of, like, movie stars and models.
We're definitely not. But
totally not involved with those type of people.
But still, yeah, I don't know how this thing persists. It's just nonsense. You got to work really hard to get physiques that most likely are the ones that you're talking about, that are too big and too bulky.
Mm-hmm. And if you're looking to improve riding, what are the trade-offs?
Yes, not only that, but to be stronger doesn't mean you have to be bigger.
Right.
Like, you can literally...
It's a win-win.
There are people who have been lifting weights for 30 or 40 years, men and women, and literally are the same size than when they started. Mm-hmm. They've just maintained. Yeah. And they've lifted heavy weights. It's not just like little stupid dumbbells for high reps and low weight. I'm talking heavy weight every week in and week out. But they're eating to maintain the body weight they want, and they're lifting to stay healthy and perform the way they want.
You should talk about relative strength too. Like, there is not a direct correlation between strength and muscle mass.
Wait. Okay. Yes, there is a direct correlation between... maybe not direct. There's a direct
correlation between how strong you are and the size you are.
Yes and no. Yes, potentially. So, like, your relative strength is how strong you are for your body size.
I'm just saying, like, there's not a direct correlation between how strong you, like, strength in, like, size. There are some really strong humans that are not massive.
Yes. Yeah,
and like, for example, person A, we'll use a girl, chick A can back squat 300 pounds. Chick B can back squat 300 pounds. Chick A is 120 pounds. Chick B is 200 pounds.
Correct. The smaller chick's stronger relatively.
Right, but they're the same size, so there's not a direct correlation between...
No, they're lifting the same weight, but they're different sizes.
Yeah.
So the smaller girl is stronger, has a higher relative strength to her body weight, and the other girl has a less high relative strength to her body weight. Mm-hmm. Right. And we at Enduro Method want to get as high as relative strength as possible. That's our goal. And not just Enduro Method. I would say we as dirt bikers would like to have the highest relative strength possible. So it means we're basically maximizing how strong we can be for how big we are. And we're not necessarily getting bigger just to get stronger. Right. And so, yeah, you can see this play out even in the most elite levels. If you look at Olympic lifting, for instance, it's the same in powerlifting as well. But in the lower weight classes, if you were to look at like I don't remember what kilo the lowest class is, but let's say, and I'm going to use pounds because it's easier. But if you had a 130-pound lifter, right, they can take 3 times their body weight and put it overhead. So they could put 390 pounds up over their head and stand up with it. And if you go, and let's say that's a gold medal lifter, and then you go to the heavyweight class, and there's a 300-pound lifter, they cannot take 900 pounds and put it up over their head. In fact, I'm not sure what the record is, but I think it's under 6. So even if you, let's say that big lifter is 300 pounds, and they can take 600 pounds, pick it up and put it over their head, that's only 2 times their body weight. But they're stronger than the smaller guy, because the smaller guy can put 390 pounds over their head. The big guy can put 600 pounds over his head. So technically stronger, but from a relative position, he's actually weaker because he weighs 300 pounds and can only do 2 times body weight, and the smaller dude weighs 130 and can do 3 times body weight. So our goal is always to maximize relative strength compared to the individual.
I think the opposite is absolute strength.
Yeah.
I think that's a technical term.
Yeah.
But yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And yeah, just going back to it, lifting heavy weights does not make you
what
bulky.
about, I'm going to put on, this is more what the dudes I see is I'm going to put on mass and I'm going to get like more, my arm pump's going to be worse. I can't lift weights because I'm going to get bigger and my arm pump's going to get bigger.
Also nonsense. Yeah, that's a common one. Like if I do curls or if I work out with my arms at all, I'm going to get arm pump because God knows why. I don't understand the reason.
So this happened to me once. I wrote this down in my phone under podcast topic ideas because I couldn't believe I was hearing it, and it was just like time and place. But I was at, of course, Lululemon. I was in the dressing room, and I believe it was an employee talking with another employee. The employee was a dude, but he was saying how he can't do bench press because every time he does bench press, or all the guys he knows doing that bench can't touch their own shoulders because they're so huge. And I was like, oh my God, like he has no idea. He's like, I can't bench. I mean, assuming because maybe at one point in time he was bench pressing and then got bulky, but maybe he was trying to do that. Who knows? But I was like, he just basically was like, I think he was talking about going to a CrossFit gym, but he was like, oh no, I can't do that because I can't bench press because then I can't touch my own arms.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, devil's advocate a little bit. The only reason I could see that is if like you got super pumped and then you tried to touch your own shoulders and your biceps got in the way, and then all of a sudden you thought, that was it, and you're now too jacked to be able to get your shirt on and towel off after a shower and everything. Mm-hmm. But that's not real life. That's going to go away in a minute or two. Mm-hmm. And because you went and worked out doesn't mean that you can't touch your shoulders.
Or it doesn't mean you can't do bench press.
The whole thing is crazy. So
how does bench pressing not make you huge?
Well, how does bench pressing once ruin your life?
Well, how does bench pressing, we'll say for not once, we'll say, how does bench pressing for a year not make you huge?
If you wanted it to, it potentially could, right? Sure. If that was a goal and you consistently did it and ate the right diet, you could gain some mass in your upper body.
You hear that, Lululemon boy?
But it's going to take a coordinated effort.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, and I mean, I think he was maybe talking about his friends, but his friends are maybe on steroids. And they're training for that.
I would make the argument that even if you're on steroids, you got to still eat more food than usual and you got to lift really hard. Yeah. Steroids alone does nothing.
It just doesn't, it's not black or white. Like, bench pressing will give me this
thing.
It is.
And it goes back to the same thing with arm pump and doing...
Yeah, so let's go
lifting
back
weights
to that.
And arm pump, for instance.
My Lululemon story kind of glossed over it. But, I... Like I was saying with the dudes, having resistance towards resistance training, because of the arm pump, because of that.
Yes, so you could make the argument that eventually having too much muscle mass will be a detriment to riding a dirt bike at your best. Fair enough. Now, the amount of muscle mass that you would need for that to become detrimental would be a lot. I would put it on the side of like natural bodybuilder size plus, right?
But, I mean, all of our dirt bike forearms, they're huge from dirt biking.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, mine kind of are. But I don't have crazy arm pump problems.
So when you increase strength, you need less of that strength to hold on to a bike. The less strength you need means an increase of blood flow, like directly. That's just how it works. So let's say you had a test that you could squeeze with your hand, right? And you could squeeze 100 pounds worth of pressure. When you're at 30, I think it was 30% of max strength in the squeeze, you're starting to occlude blood flow. So you're starting to slow down blood flow in and out, right? That's at 30%. So that means 30 pounds of pressure. And again, I'm just going off that 100-pound test example. At 30 pounds of pressure on your handlebar, you're starting to slow down the amount of blood flow that goes in and out through your forearm, right? So if you can increase your strength of your grip, right,
it's gonna make that 30 pounds go up.
Exactly. Just by increasing your grip strength, let's say 150 pounds on that squeeze test, now at 30%, when you're using 30%, you're holding on at like 60 pounds or whatever the math would be exactly. So what it means is you need less strength to hold on to the handlebars, which means you're increasing blood flow in and out of the forearm. So by getting stronger, you're reducing the amount you have to work to hold on the handlebars, which is also increasing the amount of blood flow in and out of the muscles, which is exactly what you need to reduce arm fatigue and arm pump. So when you're maxed out, and I'm not saying arm pump is only directed at a lack of strength. That's completely false as well. It's massively correlated with body position, how you feel mentally. Like if you're scared on the bike, you probably are over squeezing. If you decide,
you're just talking about the direct correlation between size.
Yeah, if you decide to hold your breath like an idiot on a hill climb, you're probably you're stopping blood flow. Like all these things, there's a whole bunch of contributors. But the idea that getting stronger grip and stronger arms is detrimental and making arm pump worse is nonsense. The best things you can do for arm pump are, and again, there are cases that need, let's say, surgery or
surgical intervention.
experts in that area. But by getting stronger, increasing your aerobic and anaerobic abilities, and then of course focusing on body position, I'd say the biggest ones. But strength it's only going to be a benefit to that.
Mm-hmm. It's not going to all of a sudden make your forearms so massive that blood flow can't go through.
Yeah, right. And of all the muscles, right, that are like the ones that would quote unquote blow up the biggest first is forearms. Because they're not proportionately, linked to the rest of your body.
Yeah,
like Popeye's real.
Maybe they're just sitting there lifting weights, eating spinach.
I mean, Jesus.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, ultimately, if you haven't figured it out already, lifting weights doesn't make you bulky or bigger.
No, I mean, you could easily make just say it's diet.
Yeah.
For bulk.
Eating in a surplus of food, that means putting more calories in than you expend out will cause you to become bigger.
Exactly.
Your mass will increase.
Yep. And
that includes size and weight.
If you basically eat the same thing you did previously and you've been at the same body weight for quite some time and are fairly stable, by adding in strength specific work, you're not going to increase in body size that much. There might be some small differences.
What about all the snowflakes out there?
Most likely, you're going to have a decrease in fat tissue and an increase in lean muscle mass. Lean muscle mass weighs a little more. Maybe the scale changes slightly. But you might even find the scale goes up and pant size decreases, shirt size decreases. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just, the snowflakes are snowflakes.
But I was a gymnast.
So you're super flexible?
I don't know. I'm just trying to think of another example, like Snowflake example. People are different. There are folks out there, the body type, that make changes quicker. Some people are more prone to adding muscle mass. Like, they really are, just naturally. And it's
then
some terms called mesomorph.
Yep. Some folks are more keen on, they can lose weight super fast. Some have a harder time doing one or the other. So it's not to say that
snowflakes don't exist.
People aren't different. It's just to say that this idea that if you start lifting weights, you're going to be so bulky so quick, before you see it coming, you're just blindsided by it. And one morning you wake up and you're like, fuck. I don't even have clothes that fit me anymore. I don't know where this happened. I don't know where I went wrong.
Yep.
Yeah.
No.
I don't know. So I think even if that were the case, the benefits still outweigh the risks. And
if
there's really no risks.
You better call us for some one-on-one support.
Yeah. I think in my opinion, there's no downsides. It's only upsides.
Yeah. Even the snowflakes.
Yeah.
The positives outweigh the...
And the same thing can be said with the amount of weight you're lifting versus higher rep, lower weight. That whole deal. Like, you can lift heavy, stay lean, feel great, and not be bulky or big or a meathead or whatever. Mm-hmm. Heavy weights. It's important.
Yeah. So there we are. We have debunked Josh and Dane debunk style. Do lifting weights make me bulky? No.
Bad food choices can.
Incorrect. No, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it's basic stuff. If you eat in a surplus, and quality matters, then you're going to gain weight whether you lift weights or not. And if you eat in a deficit, you're going to lose weight whether you lift weights or not. But if you're lifting weights, most likely you're going to have a higher lean muscle mass compared to fat mass, which is all on the plus side.
Okay, now you've heard of Josh say it like 3 or 4 times.
Yep.
So if you made it this far, what is it? Beating a dead horse. We beat it. So anyways, if you are a current subscriber of Enduro Method, thank you. You should maybe tag us on social media or send us some testimonials or whatever. We'd love to highlight you and your bulkiness that you don't have. And if you're not a current subscriber and are interested, we do offer a 7-day free trial to our regular subscription. And we also offer one-on-one coaching, kind of our premier option. So if you have any specific goals that you would like to address, or hey, if you want to talk about nutrition, the one-on-one stuff is going to be the direction for you to go. But check us out on the interwebs, enduromethod.com. And then you can find us on social media at Enduro Method. You can easily send us a DM there. You can send us an email if you have any topics that you'd want us to cover, anything of the sorts. Let us know.
Yeah.
Do the thing. All right. Thanks for listening. And we're doing this bi-weekly, so we'll see you in a couple weeks. Cheerio.
Bye.